Before you listen to this episode, I want you to go and check your respective apps and make sure that they're all updated because they're probably updating out of control. We're getting updates and changes and AI agents and AI chatter and I don't know, lunches, something. I'm sure there's AI lunches somewhere, everywhere. And it's kind of getting out of control. So Mike and I have actually been, I guess I don't know if I'd call it controversial. We've been like people have been against our opinion that back in the day, like quite literally like 2018 and on, I guess approximately, we said tech moves pretty fast, and a lot of people said tech doesn't move, doesn't turn on a dime. It doesn't move that quickly. You guys are exaggerating, and that may be true still in like big corporations and things. But if you are trying to keep up to date with the tools that you use, if you're trying to keep up to date with the AI tools that you could use, or even if you're trying to avoid AI, you must be dodging like an amazing, I don't know, acrobat because there's AI tools and tool tips. Every time I open up an app that's like, hey, by the way, we got an AI tool in here. It's like, cool, I came here to write my grocery note. Like, get out of the way. So, we're going to talk about this today. We're going to be talking about the never ending updates that we're seeing. We're going to be talking, of course, a lot about AI today. So things like cursor AI models, different frameworks, website builders, the list goes on. There's a lot of updates. And Mike is actually the one that wrote this episode. But before I pass it on to him, if this topic sounds interesting to you and you want to support the show, you can go and check us out on that Patreon, leave a review or rating on your podcast app, join us in our Discord server, or share this with your friends. And if you want to help out not only yourself, but us as well, you can net yourself up to 20% off a Scrimper Pro plan. And you can find that link in the show description and show notes with full details in the show notes on htmlallthethings.com. Might even be on your screen. I put the link in the last video episode because we're starting to do some video episodes. I put the link on the screen. Weirdly, very, very easy to do in every single editing software except for the one we use. I had like a heck of a time trying to get it to work. Maybe I can get an AI to do it. But anyway, I'm new to it, so like I'm not complaining yet. Maybe I will, but I'm probably doing it incorrectly. But anyway, remember that we are also powered by Code Rabbit. They give you the power of AI code reviews to help cut your code review time in half. Check out the link in the show notes and episode description to net yourself a 14-day free trial with no credit card needed and just a 2-click sign up with a GitHub or GitLab account. And I just want to say actually one more thing. So if you are digging the video episodes, please let us know. I've been uploading the episodes onto Spotify. They come out at some point after the audio version, and that illustrates a point. So the YouTube version gets the video, but if you're a person that's like, I just want to listen to the audio version's still there, still totally listenable. If you're just listening on a podcast app, go for it. We're not just switching over to video. We're just doing both. We're doing the same thing we did before. We just added video for people that wanted it. Just an FYI to everybody out there. So Mike, like I said, you wrote this episode. Why don't you kick things off by pressing that get updates button?
Oh God. I feel like I dread that get updates button sometimes now, and some of that's to my own creation, I think, but other times it's just like there's a legitimate reason why. It honestly feels like every day I have multiple update notifications, whether it be my editor, like Cursor, I'm sure everyone has that, VS Code, all of those seem to just keep popping up with that, like, hey, update, please update. And then like even web tools, I'll have like some random web tool open and it'll have like a little update, like, hey, refresh to update this. And that's not a big deal. Refreshing a page doesn't sound like that bad, and it's usually not. But even that kind of weighs on me. I'm like, I'm in the middle of writing something and I want to refresh. What if happens if everything goes away? Then there's like the actual package updates. So that's like a completely separate conversation. But like you have a big project, you have a lot of dependencies, top updates, like a dependent, and then there's like invisible updates in there too, where in your package, you could have no updates, but then all of a sudden a dependency of a dependency has an update and it needs to update. So you run a typical pm install, it changes like 1,000 lines in your package lock file. Great. You don't know what the heck happened there because it's almost impossible to track. Then there's AI models, which is just nonstop, just throw in like, hey, we have this model coming out. We have this open source model. We have Gemini coming out. For context today, Gemini 3.0 launched, right? Like that, like we have 5.0 like GPT 5.0 that came out like, I don't know, a month ago. And then 5.1 launched this week, or last week. I don't even know. Like I'm getting buried. Like my own brain is starting to reject the idea of updates to a certain degree, and I just like I just want to stay on older versions. I just want to like I'm getting burned out for updates at this point, and I maybe that's like over dramatic. I don't know, But I feel like we are in a state of constant just blasting with updates from every possible perspective of what I'm working on. I have an update from Arc, the browser that I'm using, that's just flashing at me to tell me to restart an update. And I'm like, if I press that by accident, it'll just close this descript window that we're using to record too. So that will be great. Then the OS has update. Mac OS had an update recently, which I refused to go to because it's like a garbage update. Like it's liquid glass or liquid ass, whatever you want to call it, that is
Jesus.
inconsistent across.
Excuse me.
It's it's bad. Like I have a couple people on the team that I've updated, and they've showed me. They're like, look at these windows. They have one has one border radius, the other one has another border radius, and they come together and look like actual ass. And I'm like, how does this get by QA? Like it's very basic stuff too. It's like a browser window. Shit's going out of control, in my opinion. I think to talk about other things that we've talked about on web news before, there's constant outages now too. Today there was a massive Cloudflare outage. A week before there was that AWS outage. There was a Cloudflare outage. Like these aren't like small outages. We're talking like majority of the internet stops working. And usually it's because obviously people are updating things here and there. Like the the updates are getting out of control.
Move fast and break things is literally
It's
literally what the
absolutely
thing.
that.
I sound like a broken record. And I hate constantly saying it, but it keeps coming up. The move fast and break things, like we're breaking stuff. And what sucks is we're breaking things that are pretty vital. Like if you take all your notes for your meetings or anything else, personal life even, in an app like Notion, and I don't know if Notion went down. I'm just using that as an example. And like Notion is one of those apps that just, for me at least, just keeps updating, I feel like. Now, I don't have a track on how many updates. Maybe it's just more of an annoyance and, to me or whatever, what have you. But it'll keep telling me about like, oh, hey, there's Notion AI. You should check this thing out. And it can like take meeting notes for you. And hey, you were in a Teams call, while Notion was open, you could get Notion to listen in and this and that. And it's like, everybody stop. It doesn't have to just be necessarily updates as in updating the platform. It's like I'm being updated. So even if the initial, like the platform I'm on, if it's a web app, or the program I'm in, if it's like I have a desktop installed version of Notion and many other apps. I don't want to just single out Notion. The thing is that I'm constantly being updated, whether the app is updating or it's just being like Matt. Like it's constantly, these notifications just keep pouring in. This is also, by the way, on the coattails of, well, not even on the coattails. We're in the midst of, like, I call it like a notification crisis where my smartphone goes off at an unprecedented rate. I got a notification the other day from a newsletter that I was like, what the hell is this? I go in there, I'm pretty good at like unsubscribing. I will say that. Apparently it's from some video game I played about 9 years ago. And it just randomly started sending me an update. And it's like, I don't know if I ever gave you my consent. Like, I don't have, a memory that good. However, like, okay, like get rid of that. But that's not the only one that comes to the woodwork. I bought tickets for an event, and I know I didn't say to allow them to email me. I started getting emails on Sunday, and I ended up putting my phone on do not disturb, and I ended up getting like 100 freaking random things. 44 of them were emails. And it's like, a lot of them are about updates like this, right? Where it's like, hey, this new app has this brand new AI update. Like, go check it out. Hey, this new thing has this. Hey, our store now has an AI like item picker that can help you choose what you need. Hey, this and that. Hey, this and that. And so it's updates as in what Mike is saying, which is programs updating. But we as humans are being updated and notified at in my opinion, it's an unprecedented rate. And I can't actually say that. It might be overdramatic, like you said, Mike. Maybe that is true. Let me say, this is my personal feeling. I'm being notified at an unprecedented rate. It's out of control right now.
It's nonstop. Like it's literally like I think it's at the point where I just ignore everything, like all the updates, unless someone blasts it in my face with like that this is really cool or something like that. Like I don't know what's being updated. Like I don't know what's changing in the stuff that I'm clicking update on. And I at this point I don't care. And that's bad. That's maybe bad. Like, oh, actually, no, that's really bad, because what happens if there's like an actual like security vulnerability that people have snuck in there or something like that? I mean, I'm not going to read the code. That's not realistic. But like, I don't know. I feel like I'm becoming extremely pessimistic on every update. Pessimistic is the wrong word. I just press the update button and it just updates. And sometimes it destroys my workflow, and I live with that. But regardless, let's get to a little bit more of this episode. I actually had like a note here saying like, in this episode, we'll talk about how I stay sane. with the never-ending updates, but I think you can hear from my voice that I'm not sane right now, like, I'm not
You
at
put up
all
a wall and the
sane.
wall fell down.
I thought maybe I would have some advice, and like, to be fair, I do have some advice that maybe others can use to stay sane, but realistically, like, I am going insane with the updates, and I'll get into that a little bit. But first, why does everything update so fast right now? Like, why are we seeing this unprecedented, like Matt said, event of like just nonstop update after update after update? The first thing is that we're in web dev. What do web developers love to you? We love abstraction layers, right? We love to build on top of other people's stuff. And we love dependencies. We love dependencies. We have a whole slew of tools just to manage our dependencies. Like, that's how much we love dependencies. And every one of our tools is built upon dependencies pretty much. Like, no one's really using the core of any tools, right? Like, if you're using any browser out there, you're probably on some sort of abstraction layer of that browser. Even Chrome. Like, Chrome is a perfect example. That's an abstraction on top of Chromium, right? Like, so Chrome has its own update cycle. Chromium, the thing that it's built on top of, updates also separately from Chrome. And so they need to pack that into an update, or they update. Like, so you can have multiple updates just to update the two abstractions, but then you have other browsers built on top of these abstraction layers, like Arc or Zen, which is on top of Firefox. Arc is on top of Chromium as well. Like, and then you're building again on top of abstractions, right? So you're dependent on the abstraction layer. So whenever it updates, you are forced to update for the most part. And then your own features on top of that also cause updates. So it's like a double whammy. Same with frameworks, right? Like, if you're building a framework, for example, a meta framework like Next.js, right? Everyone knows Next.js. That is a meta framework on top of another framework, which is React. And React is also obviously on top of JavaScript, which is not a framework, but it's a language that has its own updates. So you have, again, this cascading effect of, like, whenever React updates, that means that Next.js has to update. Next.js has to update as well because it has its own features. Updates upon updates upon updates for us. Build tools, like build whatever freaking build tool you want to think about. Like, if you have Webpack or something, it's probably reliant on other shit underneath it. Rollup is reliant on Vite, or the other way around. Vite is reliant on Rollup. Tons of dependencies there. Your dependencies themselves have a million dependencies. Like, look at your package lock file and see if you can coherently read it. If you can coherently read your package lock file, then you've done a great job managing dependencies. If your package lock file looks like garbage that you don't understand, that means that you're relying on too many dependencies, and that's how web development just is. So anytime you hit npm install, rewrites your entire package lock file because you have 1,000 dependencies that have updated 1,000 other dependencies within them that you don't even have any really visibility over. They're not in your package file. There's nothing, you did not npm install them, right? These are all dependencies of dependencies, which is kind of scary. Not kind of scary, it's actually very scary, because if one of those dependencies of dependencies gets a vulnerability in it and accidentally updates, that's it. Your app is screwed. And that has happened recently. We've had episodes about that.
I mean,
AI tooling.
well,
Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, like, this also goes beyond like the custom code, like, side of things as well. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm in the Webflow ecosystem right now, building a few different projects, and I mean, just randomly, I mean, at least like randomly to me, one day I was on X and somebody's like, "Oh, hey, like Webflow Conf happened," which is a conference, and there's all these updates that came out, and it's like, man, holy crap! Like, I'm still like this platform is changing, which is good. It's growing and all this, which is good, like in terms of features. But it's like I can't keep up with all these features, and I know people will say, "Oh, it's a no-code tool. Like, who cares?" It's like, yeah, but there's still like effectively hundreds of features, and I can't keep on top of them. So when I go to somebody who asks me for a Webflow site, and I give a recommendation, like, my recommendation may be incorrect because I have to keep on top of all these updates, but I also build things in WordPress for people. But we also have people on custom websites as well. We even have people on like really old, like actual HTML, CSS, and JS, all vanilla sites, because they update their site like once every 5 years with like a new paragraph for like, oh, hey, my price changed. And so we have like, there's a lot of different projects that we're part of maintaining and or building. And so when a platform is like iterating like crazy and you're not fully in it, like if I'm not just a Webflow dev, which I am not, it's hard to do. And there's an example here. I just pulled it up actually on my screen, and there's literally just a button at the top. So there's like a design button, a CMS button, and an insights button. That all makes sense to me. I understand that. Right before that insights button, though, left or right, we got one called App Gen. So that appeared one day, and I was like, "What is that?" I click in here, and it's like App Gen, generate, customize, and deploy an app all in Webflow. And then it says, "What would you like to create?" And there is a text box for me to type in, and it has a placeholder text in there as an example, and it says, "Build an interactive price estimator. Let users choose a plan, add-ons, and billing cycle, and show real-time cost updates." And then you can like learn more. There's like Webflow does have pretty good documentation. There was a tool tip or like a toast or whatever that popped up on my screen to tell me stuff. But it's like, man, I'm in the middle of building some people's sites. I can't now take a day off the project to learn a new update that, really could save me a bunch of time, but also really might not. And so now it's like you're gambling almost with these updates with the sheer amount of them. I've had this for a while where I have a couple of clients that are on an older version of some WordPress stuff because they don't want the AI update because it keeps bugging them saying, "Hey, you could write with our AI writer, you could write with our AI suggester, you could write with our this, you could write with our that." And I don't know if that AI writer, suggester, whatever, it's a few different plugins, is good or bad, but it's like sooner or later, and like soon now, it's been a while since we've updated, and we're going to have to update in order to get the security updates. Like now they're going to have to live with the AI updates. I can only imagine on their side, the customer side, how many tooltips and pop-ups and suggestions and tips and tricks and videos and buttons, are going to be exposed to them where they're going to be like, "My God, like get out of here. I just want to go and like write my blog post, or I just want to change my pricing or update some of the information on my website." The amount of updates is just sheer. It is crazy right now.
It's insanity. Like, yeah, it's literal pure insanity. I pulled up the cursor update log, right? The change log. And initially it actually looks very clean. And I think they do this on purpose, which makes sense. They have one big update blog post per month. But the reality, if anyone uses cursor out there understands, is that we're getting updates, I want to say daily. And I think that's fairly accurate. Like daily is accurate. So we have to, essentially what that means is we have to press the update button, restart all of our browser sessions. So all of our browsers, all of our cursors are restarted, and then they reopen back up. And then you have to deal with the window management of that. That's been especially that's been my most painful thing because I have a window tile manager called Aerospace on macOS, and every time that cursor updates, it will close all of my cursor windows from all of my different window spaces, essentially, which are completely separate desktops, and open them all up in one space, and then I have to go in and reorganize them all, which I've gotten pretty efficient at, to be fair, because of the necessity of doing it on a daily basis, but it's still kind of a pain in the ass. And it's literally like every day. And I can prove that a little bit because in September, I'm seeing here, on October, for some reason, it says that there's been only one patch. I'm 99% sure that that's incorrect because I was alive in October and I saw how many times it updated. In September, it looks like this is more accurate. There was 54 patches, which means every single one of those patches is an
Holy.
update. That's more than one a day. And that's how I felt. That's literally how I felt, where I was just like, press update, work a little bit, update. The update thing came back up. Okay. All right. Just update again.
This is like when we were trying to play Ark Survival Evolved when it was new
Yeah.
in college, way back in college. And like one of us had a really good computer. So we're like, okay, that person will run the dedicated server. And we downloaded the server and we got it all updated. And this is on, internet connection when internet connection at 10 meg a second was good. But the update files were still huge. They were gigabytes in size. And so we waited, 40 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it is. Everybody gets to this thing. We're all in person in like kind of like a LAN party. And then we're like trying to connect to this person's server. And we're like, what the hell? It says version mismatch. And we looked it up and it's like, oh yeah, like the server just updated. And so the person's like, oh, okay, it's just an update. It'll be a couple gigs. And while they were updating, it updated again. And then we all got updates as well. And we're like, okay, now I get it. The game was new and it was in early access and you're supposed to expect those things, but it feels like that. And we talk about that moment a lot, actually, like looking back fondly, because it's like, man, that was a crazy time where it's like, let's all play Ark. What version are we on? Like, what, everyone has auto updates on. Games don't usually update this frequently, especially games with like a dedicated server or whatever. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, it was rough, and yeah, I still think back on that pretty often. But yeah, this is what that feels like to a lesser degree because we don't have to update Like, it's not gigabytes, and our internet is a lot faster, and it doesn't, like, interrupt the workflow as much. I wanna just say that I am being a little bit pedantic, I am being a little bit nitpicky here. This isn't the end of the world, like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't the worst thing ever to have to click update every once in a while and reorganize my windows. Whatever. It's a little bit like, it's quite annoying because I have to do it across so many different applications, and they all have different update cycles, and, like, it seems like they're all on, like, a biweekly update cycle at least, like, two times a week seems pretty standard at this point. So it is getting overwhelming. I think everyone is in their own, like, when they're building a tool, they're in their own mindset of like, "Oh, the people are only using our tool, so we'll just, like, throw updates at them." And it's like back in the college days where, like, the university professors would be like, "Hey, do all this. You have 4 hours a day after class. You have plenty of time to do this for my class." And we're like, "Well, we have, like, 8 other classes."
Right, right.
It's the same kind of mentality. We're like, "I have to freaking manage 15,000 different updates across so many different platforms." But regardless, even with that being said, this isn't the end of the world. Like, this is something that I really want to talk about because it's getting to be annoying. But the reality is that you press an update button, it updates for you, and usually it's okay. Sometimes no, which is annoying.
But
Um,
what you're getting at though is you're saying like the actual update process and like being kind of like bothered is annoying. But there's another
yes.
angle here, which is those updates are doing something, and many of them are virtually invisible. They're maybe bug fixes, security problems, things behind the scenes. But in this specifically in this AI age, especially since it's so early, we're getting actually new actionables, new menus, new buttons, new procedures, new workflows. I assume old workflows are shutting down, although I haven't experienced that yet. And it's very, very tiring. And it's also very like subscription happy. Like everything was already a subscription happy before, but now it's like, oh, well, like also get a chatbot. But maybe you get two because this chatbot's good at this and this chatbot's good at this. And it's very in your face and it's all over the place. And I will say this is as to not to play necessarily devil's advocate, but to like talk from the person that's, pushing the updates. I have sympathy for them because I don't know of a good way to educate users on a new feature. Like for example, I have not touched Notion AI at all. I'm in Notion all the time, but I've not touched Notion AI at all, period. And it taking notes for me during a Teams meeting actually kind of sounds cool. And I saw that little pop up, and that's the only reason why I know that. But when I open an app, I open it with an intention generally. I'm usually like, oh, I got to write my grocery note, or I got to start a new blog post, or I have to start preparing for the podcast. And so I open Notion to then start working on that. And the issue is that because I'm going with an intention and I'm going for, let's say, my grocery note, something pops up and's like, hey, by the way, you could take notes with this. I'm like, yeah, yeah, like go away. So it's like a little distraction off my train of thought, and I kind of like push it away. However, people who are like super, either they're super into it because they're actually the developers of it, or they work at the company, or someone who's super curious and loves Notion, for example, or many other products. You can extrapolate this to other products. They might get really into it, and the usage of Notion, really could drastically change and become much more efficient because of some features that people like me who open it with intention of doing something that is not learn, now I'm missing out. And in fact, Mike, like right before this show, I was talking to you about some workflow stuff where I was talking about like having a tutorial video, talk not talk to, but I was like, oh, maybe I could have like a GitHub repo that, and I'm just spitballing, like we're just doing content ideas. And I was like, maybe I could have a GitHub repo that, people could use rather than like a code pen, nothing wrong with code pen, but rather than a code pen. So like maybe they could get in there and they could, see some readmes on, so read up on some of the tutorials I did in a video form. And you were mentioning to me like, oh, just hand it to Gemini and Gemini will upload this and upload that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because like to this point, I know that people use agents and things, but I've been using AI for research on things. I've been using AI for coding and helping me code, but a lot of it's been copy paste in and out of apps, and I've been doing the manual work. And I have not even thought of having it auto, do things in my accounts. I've never even really thought of that too much, other than like I know that one of them can like connect to your Google Calendar now or something. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It could like book things for me. But like the point of the matter is it's like I missed out because I keep pushing these updates away, but it's because I'm busy doing something. It's not like I'm just sitting around and being like, I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to, you know, I can't be learning 24/7. I can't be learning all night and then working all day and then learning all night to only then have like the rapid updates change, like update me, even if they're useful. And that's the thing that sucks for like an app developer, I'm sure, or a platform developer, because they're like, man, like look at how much faster, you could do X thing on my platform. If you just use the new features. And I'm like, QuickBooks added some AI thing. I mean, I'm not gonna go and spend an hour learning the QuickBooks AI thing, but it could save me 7 hours, but it could not. It could be, I could sit there for an hour and be like, that was a freaking waste of time. I'm not gonna use those features because I'm not in QuickBooks all the time. And it's a huge issue. Actually, a prime example from my past is like an old BlackBerry device used to have like a ribbon of buttons, like the call, end call, the trackpad with a click, BlackBerry button, and a back button. And then they went to BlackBerry 10 or BB10, and it was all gestures. And I remember talking to people on Android and stuff being like, gestures is sick. Like, this is awesome. It's so fast. The BlackBerry hub is so freaking good. It's built in. It's like a little app. It's like not like a stupid pull down shade, which I still hate. And I'm still like, the BlackBerry hub is still the best way to handle notifications, in my opinion. And I was like, this is sick. And there's a multitasking screen that is always like, on the one side rather than like clicking a button. And Android was very much like back button, home button, multitasking button at that time, right? And it still is to some extent. And now, of course, iPhone, eventually, introduced gestures. And then everyone was like, oh my God, gestures, like this is going to be awesome. And it's kind of like, man, like we had that on in the BlackBerry world, so early, and it was so fast. It was so good. And no one really wanted to learn that. And that sucks. And how do you like shove that in users' faces? Because it's not really sexy to be like, look at these gestures, look at these gestures, look at these gestures on a commercial. You have to have like the flashy, they had like the face camera where you take a picture of somebody and you could like rewind their face if they blinked. You could like rewind that. That was like one of their big ads for BB10. And they did show some gestures and things on the side. But how do you truly educate a user that, like us, like we're talking, Mike, does not want to be educated because we're busy doing something else?
I want to say it's impossible to educate a user that doesn't want to be educated. The only way to do that is to literally rip out the features that they were usually like, if remove the intent. So if they were going into the app to do X, remove that X and replace it with what you want them to do.
Fair point. Yeah.
And that's going to piss them
And
off.
then that'll piss me off as opposed to say, I'm not going to be happy
piss
about
you
that.
off like a major amount. So that's why people don't do it. Like that's why apps don't do it. So I think this is a massive problem that you've hit on, that a lot of app developers run into once they have an established application, is that how do you introduce a new feature and actually get people to use it? And I think that it's a very difficult problem to solve. I think a lot of them rely a lot on content creators, that like they throw it on content creators to make videos, post about it on X, show like little clips about how they're using this new feature. And I think that works to a certain extent for people. But this is assuming that people want to find these new features, right? Like this is that assumption of like, hey, I'm in it not only to like do X thing, but I'm also want to get better at it. And if you have time to do that, like you were mentioning. So like, I think there is that's a huge friction point that people are trying to solve. There's a lot of people that put those like tutorial guides, like whenever a new feature comes out, and I see this all the time now, is like an overlay will show up and point you to the new feature and like talk about it a little bit. And you can't like, the only way to skip it is to click next kind of thing. Right. Like, again, not terrible. Like if you're in there just to do X thing, it'll piss you off.
It'll piss me off 100%. I just mash
Absolutely.
next. Yeah, 100%.
Correct. Yeah. And most people will. I want to say that very clearly. So I think you're capturing a small percentage there. You're capturing a small percentage with content. But I think when people are set in the ways of your app, it's a very difficult problem to solve, to just consistently throw features at them. The newer your app, the easier it is because people are less set in your ways. But like the older the app, the more difficult it is to get people to use different workflows. So that's a problem for a UX designer and a UX engineer and a marketing person. Like it's a very multifaceted problem that I don't think is like a fully solved solution yet. And I don't think there is a way to like fully solve it. So you have to kind of be okay with a percentage of your user base it's just not gonna use your new features,
right?
No matter how good they are, or no matter how much you promote them. It's just gonna be people that come in to do X thing and they don't give a fuck about everything else that you're trying to do. And yeah, so One thing I do want to talk about real quick as well, like why everything updates so fast, something that I looked into recently. Because when I saw this cursor thing, like when I just saw the amount of updates that were coming into my IDE on a consistent basis, I was like, what's going on at this company? Like, how is this actually like being driven? Like, this is a new company, right? They just closed a massive amount of money for like a VS Code fork that I would have never thought possible. I believe it was like $2.3 billion in funding on a $30 billion valuation for a VS Code fork, plus some AI stuff, obviously. Crazy amounts, right? So I'm like, how are these guys? They just started really like a couple years ago. How are they pushing this much out there? Like, why are they doing this? How are they doing this? And what I found was maybe this is a new method of engineering. I'm not sure, but they have this thing where when you start at Cursor as an engineer, you're on a trial period of 48 hours, and your 48 hours is only successful if you push a feature to the main branch. So any new engineer that starts there must push something to the main branch within 48 hours, which I'm guessing causes 52 updates to happen, or at least one of the parts of the reason. Like, they want people that are able to ship. That's their mentality. Like, we want people that can come in, use all the tools at their disposal, including Cursor, obviously, write code like a fucking maniac and get it to production. Like, get it tested. They probably have a really sick test suite, I'm sure, because most of the time what I don't see from Cursor is like an app breaking feature. A lot of times, most of the time, I hit update, everything works fine. Every once in a while, some little thing will break and they'll post another update. Usually, that's why you have two a day. Sometimes is that they'll break something and they'll have to update it, but like it's pretty rare considering the velocity that they're working at. So like they want people and only people that can ship, and if you can't ship within 48 hours, you're out of there. Maybe that's the mentality that a bunch of companies are taking, like get people in here that can actually do the work right away. And if I don't think you can do the work within 2 days, then you can't do the work. I'm not here to argue that that's a good thing or a bad thing either. Like, I don't know. I just think that that definitely contributes to this mass update thing that's happening. Like this just nonstop updates is like, if you're forcing every engineer to come in and immediately have impact in the realm of like actually pushing something to production, yeah, you're gonna have updates every single
Of
day. Like
course.
they're gonna have like, because the assumption that I have then is like every second day they're probably gonna want to push more to stay relevant in the company, or like really quickly. Like they're gonna want to build as much as possible, and sometimes they're gonna be building really cool shit, and sometimes they're gonna be building really boring stuff. But there is no like, hey, let's not build for a couple days and look at this, or like let's not build for a couple days and clean stuff up. But maybe there is, I don't know. But like, I think the mentality that they're driving is like, I want people that ship features, and then that makes what Matt's saying, like that little pop-up that shows up, and that makes it so that you have a completely new feature that's outside of the scope of your current ones, that you can build an entire Webflow app, right? Like in this little prompt box. And maybe that's great. But that was probably driven by the fact that you have 1,000 engineers and they all need to ship stuff. And like,
Well,
yeah, you're
what's
gonna
kind of
have
scary
some
too is this
features.
is a tool that many designers use. So like
Yeah.
I'm scared to use this because I'm a developer. I can only imagine someone just like, all right, and just like tries it out. Like what implications are there? So like that feature is gonna have to be tested like crazy, I would imagine. Like you said, like a good test suite in that
Yeah.
and shipped like crazy. But the point I'm trying to make is how many things are breaking? I don't know. Maybe nothing. I haven't tried this feature yet. It even says it's in a beta, to be clear, in the Webflow case. But like, how many people are themselves just like vibe coding things, and like we mentioned this like up like to death. How many people are vibe coding things and don't really know what they're doing, right? How many developers are actually junior level? Like I would consider myself junior level with many types of development. I mean, I'm sure you the same way. Like if someone was like, all right, embedded programming today, you'd be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like obviously there's many facets of technology and development, and like all these AI tools. So you're trying to get somebody who's new to learn what they're doing, but also enter a market where potentially, like you're saying, it's ship fast, go, 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 but then also learn the stuff. And it's like, well, like the human brain doesn't absorb like stuff this quickly. It's just the way it is. I was talking to somebody who's I have a good friend who's a carpenter, and he was talking to me about golf because him and I golf a fair bit now. He just picked up the sport and he's really good because he's pretty athletic. So he just like kind of immediately knew what he was doing. And golf's really my first sport out of childhood, I guess, other than like some childhood sports. And like, I'm learning and he's already better than me. And I was like talking to him about how I improved here, improved there. And he said like it's all and he like, kind of like jokingly, he's like, it's almost like practice and repetition allowed you to reach this point. And I was like, you know what? He's freaking right. In the digital age, like I sit down and read a blog post and immediately think that I should know that skill, that guide that I just like listened to, watched, or read. I should like immediately know that skill, and I get like upset or like annoyed when I don't automatically know that skill. But like golfing, like to me, it's like, holy crap. Like, I mean, he's not wrong. Like I'll like sit there and be like, God, this new grip feels weird. This new grip feels terrible. But I'll keep trying it, trying it, trying it. And then all of a sudden it's just like, I just go to grip the club and I have this new grip. And I'm like, oh, because like, humans are analog and our brains eventually like adhere to it. Like imagine like bombarding the brain. We've talked about notifications to death, so I won't bring that in, but these updates, it's like, what do you want me to do? Like open Notion, learn Notion AI, open Cursor, learn that new thing. Oh, I had to do a bit of things in Webflow, go over to Webflow. Oh, God, I better learn that app gen. It's like, where's the time for the actual work to be done, let alone an actual deep learning session? Like, when did I spend the time to actually use like the beta of the app gen feature in Webflow for like a while? Like, when is the like where's my deep learning? And this also is why I kind of get really annoyed when people say like when a brand new thing comes out, like when AI was like, first taken off, say 2 years ago, people were like, oh, I'm a prompt guru or I'm an AI master. It's like, you're not a master. You can't be, because the actual thing you're using, especially back then, is rapidly changing. What made you the master? You read 100 articles that came out, and so like we're being pulled in too many directions, and then we're forming jacks of all trades. And I'm not a doctor, but I would imagine being stressed out to ship really, really quickly in various teams, whether that's Cursor or otherwise or wherever, doesn't matter. I would imagine that also probably raises your stress level and blocks some of your learning ability, because you're like, I don't even know if I can learn this. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. My God, what do I do? You know what I mean? It's like you're getting pulled in too many directions. And I don't know. This feels very like unnatural to me, even from a user perspective, where like people will bring things up to me and it's like, back in the day, it's like, people say, oh, you learn something new every day. That was back then. Now we're getting updates every day. So I'm freaking learning something new about Notion every day, every day. Like just Notion, like, what I mean? And I'm exaggerating, and I'm using Notion just because it's literally on my screen right now. So, but like every time I boot up, like it's like, oh, I go into like my bank app and it's like, hey, by the way, it's like, no, I just want to pay my credit card bill. Don't tell me about anything. We have an investment specialist that's on AI. No, stop talking to me about AI. By the way, you could call your coach. I don't want to call my coach right now. I'm trying to pay my freaking credit card bill. By the way, you got to vote on a merger potentially from, another, for whatever, blah, blah, blah. Would you please? I need to pay my credit card bill. And then meanwhile, I go to check the credit card bill, which is in a different app. And it's like, wait, statements are now AI summaried. Like, holy fuck. please, sir. No. This is what I mean. It's like, I can't learn. Then you can call me dumb. Like, that's fair. But like, I don't know about you, Mike, but like, I don't have a deep understanding of every single tool I use and every single AI thing. And honestly, I'm starting to like not have a deep understanding of freaking anything anymore, even in tech. I'm like, I have a deep understanding of my golf swing because it's the most analog thing I do in my life. And I'm serious when I say that, like, dead serious. Like, people started using Sora too, which is, I guess, a social media app. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And people are like posting these videos. And I was like, isn't this just like, because the little watermark said Sora. And I was like, Sora, like the little video generating thing that like I kind of played with and never really used. And the people are like, oh yeah, it's a social media platform thing now. And I'm like, am I just getting old here? Like, what's going on? Like, now we had another social media platform. Like, I just got onto the tickety, like my one friend calls it tickety bop. I just got onto the tickety bop. And here's a crazy thing too, is and not a crazy thing. Here's the thing that my one buddy, actually the guy who calls it tickety bop, says this. He says that you get old, quote unquote, when you decide that you're done learning new things or you don't care about new things. And I kind of feel like I get that. Like, I kind of feel like I've been in that boat for a few years, but there's so much new things that like, obviously I need to keep working. And so I need to learn new things. And so now I'm like, it's like my body is resisting it and I have to like push through. And I'm sure other people are in this boat too. I'm not trying to, say a woe is me thing. But I'm sure you probably experienced this too, Mike, where it's like, holy cripe, like, okay.
See, for me, it's kind of a little bit the opposite, but it's similar because I'm in the boat where I want to learn all this shit. Like I really do. Like I actually am super excited to learn what the new feature in Cursor came out. Like,
Brave
you
man.
know, yeah, like that's I get kind of excited about it, but I'm like similar to what you were saying, I don't have the mental capacity.
Yeah.
Like I can very much admit that I cannot learn every goddamn new feature that comes out in just my browser, my code editor, let alone everything else that's being thrown at me, like all the new models. Like I said, Gemini 3.0 came out today. I'm pumped. I'm
I didn't
pumped.
even know.
Apparently the benchmarks are amazing. But like, when do I get the time to run my own benchmarks or like try it out myself? Like, I want to do that and I'm itching for it, but now I'm like, oh, but I still have this other work that I need to do that doesn't really rely on that stuff. Like, I'm in the boat where there's so much being thrown at us right now, and I definitely feel decision fatigue. I want to say that right off the bat. Like the mental load that I have with these updates is becoming more and more on a daily basis because we talked we just talked about, like, there's a new workflow that gets unlocked when these models come out. Some new workflow gets unlocked. Like the one that mentioned to you, Matt, with hey, you can just get Gemini to, connect to your GitHub and automatically update the repo with a brand new episode. Like that can all be automated now. Like it's all
I
automated,
spent an
right? Like
hour
it might
last
take some
night coming
effort.
up with the
Yeah.
general idea and being like, man, it's going to take a while to do. And then you're just like, oh, yeah, I could do it. Like, what?
Yeah. But like if I wasn't hungry for that information and like watching videos and screwing around myself, I wouldn't get there. The what kills me is that I am doing very surface level research on that stuff. So there's guaranteed to be people that are hungrier or have more time than me that are way far ahead. And that's like a FOMO effect. So now I'm just like decision fatigue, FOMO of like, I know that I'm not keeping up with this stuff as much as I want to be and I'm trying to be. But there's new things, again, getting unlocked every single day that's going to change the way we do X. And it might be very small things like, how I file my taxes. Like, oh, maybe that's not a small thing, but like how I record my transaction in QuickBooks, whatever, right? Like there might be very small things, but guaranteed I'm missing at least 100% of them.
Well,
Like, I mean, if you round up,
really? I mean, really
yeah.
though.
Like, so like, even with my like hunger for wanting to know as much as I can, I'm finding myself weighed down with the fact that I can't. And it's just like, and again, like these updates keep coming out, like updates for Svelte came out, like Svelte 5. And then on top of Svelte 5, they're like, oh, we're releasing this thing called remote functions, which is a really cool way of calling APIs, which is cool. Like, and I'm super excited about it and I want to use it, but I can't because I have to do regular work and I can't rewrite my entire application every time a new feature comes out, right? Like every once in a while, you have to do a big update. Okay. But the reality is that like you can't do that for every new feature, no matter how good it is. So that weighs you down as well. Now you have like, again, the FOMO aspect of it. And
Now we know why
I don't know, like
corporations sit still virtually.
and yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because they can't do
It's
this
out,
stuff.
it's out of
They
control.
can't. Yeah. And they're trying to adapt. Like I've heard from many corporations where like they're giving free reign use of all AI apps, which is adapting, right? Like usually they would be like, oh, we have to wait for everyone to pass like X amount. But they've realized that like if we put any bureaucracy on top of this, we're setting our developers back considerably. And therefore we're going to be falling behind all of our competitors. So if one competitor opens up use of AI tools for their development teams, the other ones have to, right? Like that's the competitive side of things. And like to kind of wrap up the like why everything is updating so fast, the other part of it, like the parts that we haven't talked about and probably the much more important parts, honestly, security patches, stuff updates really quickly because people find vulnerabilities. That's good. We want that to happen. That's absolutely the case where we need constant updates. And like everything else, yes, cool. You got a new feature coming out. Let's update quickly. Maybe it can wait for like, one update a month or something. I don't know. Like I like the old cycles of like a monthly update or even like a bi-yearly updates were cool because you got a big keynote, all the updates came out. You're like, oh shit, okay, I
Get
get
your
to explore
Microsoft
X and
Word on
Y.
disk.
Something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those were cool because it's digestible and usually somewhat sane. Now it's like a Microsoft keynote every freaking week. And you're just like, I can't keep up with this. I can't, like, I just can't keep up with this. And yeah, sometimes it's actually going to lead to bad things. Like, if you're having to keep up with all this and you miss some of the important updates, like, when should you really update? Right? Like, I want to get into that a little bit here before we wrap
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
When should you update? Security patches. Absolutely. But keeping track of what the hell a security patch is versus what isn't a security patch, that's a problem right
Yeah,
now.
it's not easy for some programs for sure.
Yeah, like when you have 2 updates in a month, which one of those is a security patch? How do you tell? I don't know. I don't know. Right? So the assumption is that every one of them is a security patch. So I'm updating every time.
Well, some people what they'll do, right, is they'll choose like a WordPress site, people will recommend, "Hey, we should update every month," is kind of like a general proactive approach. But many people are just at a point where they're like, "No, we're gonna do quarterly," because 'cause they'll have a firewall as well on their WordPress site, and that's just WordPress. You know,
Maybe. Yeah,
stuff like that where
yeah.
like you pin your updates to the calendar. So it's
I,
more easily managed by you, like especially like an agency. Like if you're running like we don't have hundreds of clients. If we had hundreds of clients, we would either have an auto update procedure. We would have a system for them. And one of those systems for management is a calendar pin where you're like, "Hey, this client wants a quarterly bill, we'll update quarterly. This person is not a bank. If someone breaks in, they're stealing, oh no, you stole my blog post, which is public, kind of thing. And so that's what we're doing. This is an e-commerce store doing 1 million a day. Yeah, we better be doing updates every week, probably. Like
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you could do it on a calendar pin basis, but that's still, I think, would still require you to have your head, like, if you're just a WordPress shop, this is easy. I want to make that clear.
easier.
You
I
have
want to
your
be
head.
clear because some of those plugins are getting some
Yeah.
friggin' AI stuff
Well,
and a
no,
bunch
no,
of
I'm
other
sure, but
things.
well, yeah, that's true. Okay, but regardless, like, it's much easier because you have one ecosystem to monitor, and you're plugged into the news cycles of that ecosystem. You see a really crazy patch come in, or you see a really crazy bug found. Usually, that's going to propagate to somewhere where you can see it, and then you go out of cycle, right? Like, other than that, you go everything in cycle, but then you see a crazy bug, you update out of cycle. That's fine, in my opinion, right? Like, it's not that works great, but the problem is that, like, as we're talking about this, there's so many goddamn things that are updating, for especially for what I'm working on, like the dependencies of dependencies. And like, if I happen to just be like, I'm only doing security patches, I don't know how to just monitor security patches. But that is a time when you should update. If there's a security patch and it's obviously a security patch, update, right? If there's a critical dependency with performance wins, I'll give an example. Prisma, which is a TypeScript ORM system for databases, had a dependency update that essentially made it so that our app, instead of having like 1 to 2 second response times, went down to like 300 millisecond response time. So that's like what, 300% performance increase or something like
That's really
that.
good, regardless.
Really good. Yeah. That is a critical dependency that has a performance win. That is a good time that you should invest. Like, if you have to spend some time there, you should invest it in an update, right? Like, that's a good time to update. Updates that impact your daily workflow. So something where it's like, hey, I'll give an example with TypeScript. TypeScript is a pain in the ass in my daily workflow. I open, it crashes, I have to restart, it crashes again, I have to restart, it crashes again. If all of a sudden a new version of TypeScript comes out that now uses the Go compiler rather than the TypeScript compiler, or the Rust, I don't know what it's using right now. Use the different compiler that actually makes it not crash. I'm going to spend some time updating that
Makes
because
sense.
it's a pain in the ass in my workflow right now. Just an example. And yeah, anything that will give you like those kind of big updates, that's when you should update, right? Like, when there's a major win for you with hopefully a minor upfront cost. Everything else, when you shouldn't update, right? Major version bumps with an unclear migration path. You go from React, Next.js 15 to 16 or something like that. Don't update, at least not right away, because just updating a version, you're going to introduce a million other bugs. Don't do it.
Yep.
Just flat out, don't do it.
I mean, there's even like WordPress, if we're talking like WordPress,
Yeah.
you can have like it just do like certain types of updates and it'll like let's say automatically. it'll do a certain level of update, and you can set it to avoid like a version, like a major version bump, which is, great, for example. And like there's a reason why that mechanic exists, is because like, you may want them like the security updates or what have you. I think
Mhm.
it's don't quote me on this. I think it's out of the box security updates are automatic. But like if let's say they, completely revitalized Erg for, 2026 and they had a big update, it wouldn't do that one automatically because that might require some like developer help or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're on a time crunch, you're trying to sprint to the feature that you're building, your team is relying on you, and you're like, "Hey, this new version of X came out, whatever that is. Maybe I should just update that during this time crunch." Don't do that. Add that as a feature. Add that as a thing that you have to actually do during a sprint that's not gonna be part of, like, a production launch, right? Like, add, something you can scope out. Don't just side update your packages just because there's a new version available and because you're already pushing to prod. That's a bad way to update packages, right? If like this is where I want to talk a little bit about the AI stuff, right? Like the AI stuff that I talked about. Gemini 3.0 comes out. When should you reach the new AI models? This is where this kind of goes away a little bit, like when you shouldn't update. Right now is a time when stuff is moving very quickly in that space, and spending a little bit of extra time, in my opinion, learning about a new major AI model drop, and the major AI model drops would come from the major AI like houses essentially, which is OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google. So just 3 different companies. My recommendation there is to keep your ear to the ground on that one and actually try it out if you have the time. Because every single one so far for me has been an incremental or sometimes a fairly large upgrade in my AI workflow, right? Like, and I want to be very clear. I don't have the most optimized workflow. I don't have the time to optimize
Yes,
it
yeah, and
perfectly.
see, like that's a problem. Like that's something we've
Yeah,
been touching on. I'm not going to get into it again. We've been
exactly.
touching on it, but like that is a pain point that of this upstream, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a constant update stream. So I don't have the most efficient AI workflow, but I try the new models out in whatever workflow that I'm working on that at that time, see if I can make it work and if it makes anything better. Right? Like I'll try it a lot of times. Cursor has a really cool feature that allows you to run the same exact prompt on multiple models in parallel. And a lot of times when a new model launches, what I'll do is I'll just enable that feature essentially, and I'll run the exact same model as I was using before and the new prompt and see which one I like better. And that's how I judge it, right? Like that's how I keep my ear to the ground as much as I possibly can. And a lot of like sometimes I'm like, oh, this is shit. This new model is shit. I'm just gonna go back to using the thing that I was using already. Right. But sometimes, and this happens more often than not now because these models are dropping every week, it'll be like, oh, this is actually a significant upgrade to what I was doing. And then all of a sudden my workflow is upgraded. Not a ton of effort on my part. It's a feature that's already built into Cursor. So it costs a little bit of extra money, which is a problem as well, but like that's a separate problem. But it's totally worth it for just quickly testing out because these, like, as much as people maybe are negative on AI or like I've seen this kind of sentiment of like, I hate writing code with AI. I get it. There, I've said this many times. It is a significant boost in productivity. It just is. Right, like, or not even productivity, but, like, even, like, knowledge scope, like, how much you can do as a developer is expanded because there's things that you can't do that you would have had to learn to do that AI can do that you can leverage, right? Like, so it's not just a lot of times it's productivity, but sometimes it's actually like, oh, you can actually do things that are more advanced than before.
You do have to learn to work with it though, which is
Yes.
that is one of those things where maybe you prioritize something like that if you like learning how to prioritize what you need or want to learn
Yeah.
is I would say more difficult than ever, at least personally, from my personal perspective, because of the amount of stuff that's coming out.
Yeah. And that's very true. It is very true. This is again my recommendation, and you don't have to hold it to heart or whatever. Like you don't have to take it. Who am I? I think it is important if you're a developer out there to learn how to integrate AI into your workflow properly and learn about the new models and get better at writing code alongside AI or with AI. It's just what I'm seeing, how I'm using it, how I see people around me using it, the people that have been able to efficiently create a good workflow are on a different trajectory, let me just call it like that, than the people that are refusing to budge and are going back their old like, it would just doing manual work and using tab autocomplete. Like, I'm seeing it. Maybe I'm wrong. It's possible, but I don't think I am. People that can really leverage AI are flying. Like, they're building features, and usually good tested features, like crazy, right?
Well, the thing with that, like I very loosely equate that to how there used to be artisans, for example, that used to be able or used to make, chairs. Let's just say like a dining room chair. There used to be like an artisan, and that was the person you went to, the woodworker, the carpenter, what have you. That's who you went to get chairs made. And then now it's like you have IKEA and all these other big box stores that have factories with human intervention that are pumping chairs out like crazy. And those people that are working in those factories are not artisans in the same way. They're not picking the wood and using the, hand tools at all or very little, right? And so it's a different like that. That's kind of what I equate this to because some people are going to be so particular with their code that it's almost like an art. And we talked about that in the other episode we had the why coding isn't fun is like part of coding was some people kind of considered it like an art form or a way of expression even because they were crafting a solution the way that they would do it and there wasn't like a min max let's rush to the finish. And now it seems like the corporations are kind of more treating us like factory workers in a way where it's like, hey, we need all this code done. There's such a need for software, clearly, because there's updates flying out the door. So faster, 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 more and more and more, go, 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 more and more and more. And if you look today, I mean, there's like locally here, there's like Mennonite like furniture galleries, and that stuff's handmade. Sometimes literally with handmade tools, like not even using like a power drill. Some of them will use a power drill, whatever, but that stuff is handmade. Somebody sanded that, somebody stained it, you know, power tools at the most, usually not even that. And you can still go get those chairs made. And there is a difference. Like you were mentioning the downtime. I mean, like I know like my parents have dining room chairs that were done by a Mennonite furniture gallery. And I kid you not, they are over 15 years old and they look immaculate. And they are used every day and they are pristine. They're not cracked. They don't wobble. They're not loose. Nothing's broken. Nothing's whatever. I mean, you buy a modern couch that's been factory made. I mean, 10 years in, that thing's sagging, it's creaking, it's all messed up, things are not working. You know what I mean? Like, really, though, right? There is a difference. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other. Like, they both serve different purposes and they both exist. And so the people who are going back, like what you're saying, where some people are like, the heck with this AI stuff, it's possible that they'll become the artisans. Now, whether there's a place for an artisan in a fast moving tech world, I don't have that answer. I don't know if that's the right or wrong call, but it's the first thing that I think of is that there are those artisans. I mean, there's a guy on TikTok that I used to follow. I haven't seen him in a while now, where he just makes furniture. Like he doesn't use any power tools, and he was like fixing his shoes, and he's an artisan. And people want that handmade stuff, but do the masses want the handmade stuff? I don't know, right? Because the other stuff is cheaper and mass producible and maybe more modern looking and things like that. Because like my parents like dining room chairs and that look old, like they look 90s or before. But like again, they're freaking solid pieces of furniture. And if I like attacked an intruder with the chair, for example, the IKEA chair I would imagine would fall apart. Meanwhile, the other one I might be able to like use after the attack to sit down, which is a crazy example. But the point is like I don't know if I don't have the answer to the future, and I'm sure you don't either. But the AI revolution of technology or of coding does definitely feel like it's moving toward. And nothing against IKEA. Like I buy stuff from IKEA too, but like it's moving toward that like mass produced future, in my opinion.
The the thing is that I do believe that to a certain extent. Like, I think there will be this artisan, like, handcrafted feel of requirement for some things in the web, or an app in the app world. I think where this falls back on is like, what's the percentage of people that have handcrafted furniture versus
Right.
IKEA?
No, that's right.
And I think that's a very, very small percent, like probably less than 1%. And that's how I feel this would go as well. So like if you're truly an artist in this space, maybe you can still make a living down the line, but
Your
like
rates have
without
to go
AI
up.
tools, your rates would have to go up like crazy. But I think like for the majority of people out there, no matter like if they're not on the level of artisan, let's say, you're gonna be boned because the people that embrace the AI will be the ones that kind of own that industry for a certain amount of time. So I'm not trying to say this to freak people out. And again, I get the comments like of like, hey, you know, I've used this AI thing and it's shit. I get it. I've used AI, that's shit. What I'm trying to say is that you using AI a year ago in one or two different projects and making a go of it and realizing that it's bad is not enough use warrant that you can't add it to your workflow. I'm sorry. There's, you know, try different tools, try different prompting methods, try to do smaller things, try to do larger things, like try harder, because I can guarantee you can find a way to accelerate your workflow with it. There's no way in hell that what you use was enough to give that opinion. I'm Again, I could be wrong. I'm not, you know, the best developer in the world, but written a lot of code. Yeah, AI can write pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty damn good
I
if you know how to
I
use it.
almost like want to like I don't know if anyone's listening to this or what have you. I almost want to interview like a prominent figure into AI who is like maybe seeing success in that other side of things because I would love to hear, you know, from that. Maybe someone's running like an agency that's completely anti AI and they're doing completely fine and still acquiring new clients, like not, you know, running on the coattails of the no AI period because that was like pretty recent. That'd be super interesting because
I would, yeah, I would love to hear that too, but I think that that's a temporary thing. I think right now, totally feasible.
yeah, like it really could be. Like I've, you know, I definitely have people like friends that are very, very anti AI for various reasons,
Mhm.
environmental or creative or whatever. But then again, I had teachers that were anti internet because the internet was relatively new when we were in grade school. And it was always like the internet's garbage. And those same teachers are inevitably on their smartphones all the time now on the internet. So, I mean, is this just a fad of hating it? I don't know. I don't have the answers. And there's certainly an environmental impact. I also get that. However, how big of an environmental impact is it to store your or your photos in the cloud rather than just backing them up onto like USB sticks and drives in your house that you unplug? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we didn't complain about the environmental impact of that. I don't know the environmental impact. I'm not trying to say that. My thing is it's just like, I like, will it get better? Will it get worse? Is it a comparable thing?
I don't think companies are going to care. Like
Which
I'm
is
just being a
a
realist right
problem to
now.
be fair. Like,
Absolutely, yeah. That is the only problem. I want to be that clear. Like us being environmentally conscious on an individual level, cool. I think I'm pretty environmentally conscious. Does not matter.
oh,
Like
oh,
not
you're talking
even
in
in the
that, yeah,
slightest.
like in that way, like
Yeah, I
per
mean,
cubic ton or whatever they.
exactly. Yeah, but like, and then what I'm trying to say is that most of our decision making is driven by companies anyway. Like, if you want a job in the industry, like if you're anti AI and you want a job in the industry, you're making your life harder
Right.
for that purpose, for being environmentally conscious. I mean, obviously your decision, like whoever is doing the decision making, it's totally up to them if they're okay with that crutch. But right now, the industry itself is in a tough spot. So like adding an extra crutch to yourself for that is like, why? Like,
If you're
you
trying
know,
to get a career, you know, in web
yeah.
development, like it's certainly going to be another thing. You know, it's certainly going to be difficult. I just mean like I guess more morally, like because I know like, I have a lot of friends that are like very morally against it due to the fact that it is burning electricity like crazy. But I have brought up to, you know, to them saying, you know, hey, all of us use cloud storage. Those drives and that data is available all over the place. And not only are we not only accessing it on our desktop computers, like back in the day, you'd have a digital camera or a phone, you take pictures, and then you put them onto the computer slash onto this external drive. You unplug the external drive, you put it in a drawer, and then that's where your backups live. Not the most secure way to do backups, but generally speaking, that's how people did it and still do it, I'm sure, to some extent. And the thing is like that drive is just sitting there. It's not generating electricity. Now it's like, you know, I have all my photos, you know, in, you know, Google Photos or whatever. And now that is existing in a data center. It's available on my computer. It's available on my phone. So now I have multiple devices that are accessing my photos that also have like a search thing that's also using a server. And so it's like nobody was complaining about the environmental impact of the unlimited photo storage that was offered by Google Photos when it first came out. No one was complaining about that back then. And I'm legitimately curious. I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm legitimately curious, by us storing stuff in the cloud, what's the environmental impact of that and how does that compare? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I'm not trying to point fingers. But my thing
Right.
is it's like, for some reason, we're really worried about AI, and maybe the numbers are crazily high. I don't know. But we're really worried about AI, but we weren't worried about the cloud computing generation.
So I do like I see their point because if you look at the studies and the infrastructure investment right now and the bottlenecks that the United States is facing, you can see that there is a significant jump. And just like from a very simple perspective, if you look at it, how do you run AI inference? Graphics cards. How much power do graphics cards take?
A lot.
600 watts, 500 watts. How much power do SSDs take that store the images? A lot less. So like from a compute perspective, you know that there is a significant amount of jump from a AI chatbot versus storing images, right? Like there is some comparison that you can make, but in my mind, and what I'm seeing again from the infrastructure investments, the fact that electricity prices are already going through the roof in a lot of places that have these data center infrastructure projects
Mhm.
going on. There's obviously way more demand for electricity because of AI versus all the other AI compute put together. So I 100% see their point. I want to make that also clear. I just, like I said, companies do not care about
And
that right
that's
now.
true too. Like they don't care. Yeah. Many. I mean, I'm
Not
sure some
even
will, but many do not. Many do definitely do not.
Definitely do not care about that. They just want more power, more inference, and they want people to be more productive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like if you're shooting yourself in the foot by being less productive due to environmental reasons, you're potentially limiting the capacity at which you could earn for your family. And that's really sad to say because again, they have a very valid point that the energy requirement for these systems is through the roof and like probably and preposterous, honestly. It is
Yeah.
preposterous
From
how
the
much
little I've
energy we're
seen, it's
trying
a
to.
lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a ridiculous amount of energy. But like at the end of the day, we're trying to, feed our families. Like I don't know how to get around that. Like there is, in my opinion, no way around that.
Speaking, you're
Be-
supposed to be generating value for shareholders. At the end of the day, it always comes down to that.
That's it.
For
Yeah.
most jobs, not every job, but for most
Yeah.
jobs, it's like, you're trying to generate value for shareholders, and if your productivity goes
Mhm.
up, then you're generating more value, and then you have a higher chance, and it is a chance
Yep.
of generating more income on an individual level.
And that's all the companies care about. So like at the end of the day, like, yeah, I think we're good with, I talked about the update stuff. I think I'll end it here is that like we're at a point in time where this stuff is rapidly advancing. We don't know if we're going to hit like a wall. Hasn't been quite hit yet. Like in some ways it maybe has. You can argue in the last 2 years, the coding stuff has been a little bit stagnant. But regardless, there's other stuff that is being worked on around it. People are using it. It's still a good tool, even in its current state. It's a good enough tool that you can learn and use and be more productive in almost any job, especially in the web development space. So I really do think that like not doing it from that perspective is going to be a net negative on your own career. Whether that's enough to push you towards doing it versus your morals, I don't know. And again, it's a completely personal decision. But I just want to really hammer that down as like really think about it. Like this is something that is absolutely here to stay. If the bubble bursts, which everyone's like, oh, the bubble will burst, who cares? The tools won't go
We're
away.
still talking about .coms,
Yeah,
and there was a
absolutely. Like, I mean,
.com
yeah,
bubble.
yeah, exactly. But the tools will stay. Like there will be AI tools out there. Like the big ones will stay. It's the small little things that you've never heard of that are going to go away. So just yeah, keep that in mind. I think that's all though.
A solemn end to a high energy episode, because
Yeah.
we were freaking out, and then it just became
Yeah.
very. She got a violin, but yeah, no, definitely leave us your thoughts. You can leave comments on Spotify. You can even leave comments on Podbean and YouTube, of course. Let us know, your thoughts on this, because like this stuff is controversial. Enraging. It's exciting. It's everything. It's all over the place. It's rapid. It's nuts. There's a lot of adjectives that I could throw in there, and lots of verbs, I'm sure. Run to your nearest server. I'm not going to do that, but But yeah, it's just an interesting thing. So like, let us know what you guys think about the update, like, the disaster, your use of AI. Do you use it? Things like that. And I mean, if you want to support episodes like this, you can do so on Patreon. That is patreon.com/html. All the things. Check out the tiers. Give that a go. Many thanks to our $3 tier patrons. Tim from the Web Hacker on thewebhacker.com. Jason from Geek Life Radio via geekliferadio.com. Garrett Segal, Level Up Financial Planning via www.levelupfinancialplanning.com. Magnus from YesWeb via yesweb.se. Syntaxify from the HTML All the Things Discord server. And Stacy Mostuler from the website swoonworthydesigns.com. And remember that we are also powered by Code Rabbit. They give you the power of AI code reviews to help cut your code review time in half. Check out the link in the show notes and episode description to net yourself a 14-day free trial with no credit card needed and just a 2-click sign up with a GitHub or GitLab account. And also remember that we have an up to 20% off Scrimba Pro plan discount link. That was a loaded sentence because I went off script. So, but anyway, yeah, go and check that out if you want up to 20% off a Scrimba Pro plan. If you want to kind of cut the noise out, they have multiple pathways. You can take a front end pathway. I believe their back end pathway, I believe is out now. Don't quote me on that. I believe it is out. Go check that out. But they have back end courses, front end courses, free courses, premium courses, tons of stuff. You can pause what the instructor's doing, play with the code live right in the browser, right in the player there, mess around with it, and then continue the lesson, with just a couple of clicks. Great bit of software if you're like, it's too much noise and sit down, maybe do a pathway, go through the courses, learn, and then if you want to learn that code with AI after or what have you, go ahead. And they even have some AI tools, so go and check them out because Per and I discussed them on our latest episode with Per. So you can check that out too, I guess. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Michael Araka, a contributing author on HTMLallthethings.com. Michael is the author of Self-Taught the X Generation blog at selftaughttxg.com. Feel free to leave a comment or review in the platform you are listening to this on, and this outro will sign. Well, it's not really an outro anymore, so this might be the outro. But we're signing off. We're getting out of here. If you're listening to the audio version, there is an outro. If you're listening to the video version, there's not. It's Schrodinger's outro.